Chapter 8 Captain Truman Clog was beginning to feel discouraged. No matter how hard and long he beat at Marshink's gates with his battering ram, they seemed to hold up. Gruzzle, Deadjaw, Floater, and the rest were seated on the shore beneath the upturned boat, blowing for breath as they massaged weary paws. Clog struck the side of the boat with his cutlass.
"What's the matter, you lily-livered sea scum? Weary already? Come on now, hearties, up on your paws and give it one more go. She's splintering, I tell you. Why, a couple more bangs and we'll be through into the fortress."
Gruzzle sucked noisily at a skinned paw.
Captain, I thought you said one more go half an hour back, and we're still charging those gates like mad beasts.
Clog cocked a fierce eye at the complaining sea rat.
"You're grizzling, Gruzzle. Always grizzling. Now up off those hunkers, mate, and charge that gate afore I charges you with this frog sticker."
He waved his cutlass threateningly. There was a knocking on the outside of the boat.
"Captain, it's Wet Paw. Come quick and take a look out here."
The boat was lifted, and Clog poked his head from underneath.
"Look at what, mate?"
The ferret pointed to a reddy orange glow illuminating the sky beyond the headland. It took a moment for realization to sink in. Then, the pirate stoat let out an agonized wail and began tearing at his braided beard. The clumsy wooden clogs clicking together as he performed an anguished jig on the shore.
"Ah! The slime-coated villain's burning me ship! Ah! Me lovely sea scarab, pride of me heart! Aye, Battering, you rotten foul-nosed worm, stinking screw-tailed stoat, warp-eyed, snotty-snouted shark!"
The Corsair crew looked on in dismay as their captain gave full vent to his spleen. Hurling himself at the gates, he hacked with his cutlass, kicked with his clogs, even gnawed savagely at the woodwork with his teeth as he yelled between mouthfuls of splinters.
"I'll rip your liver and lights out and feed 'em to the crabs! I'll cut off in your head and throw it into your face! I'll string up your chipes for rigging! I'll pickle your tail in burning brine! I'll...
Scowrag and his archers stood paw-deep in the sea, the water scarlet and gold with reflections from the blazing vessel. They blinked as ashcloth from the sail drifted sootily by on the breeze. The sea scarab was settling down in flames on the shallow bay bed, and timbers crackled as blazing pitch bubbled from seams. Two rats who had been left on watch were draped limply in death over the gunwales, blazing arrows extinguishing themselves in their backs. With its great green sail burned away, the mast stood like a fiery beacon against the star-studded night. It cracked and broke, falling in an avalanche of sparks. The vessel heeled over, listing at a crazy angle, as sea water met flames with a loud, steaming hiss. Scowrag turned to his archers, satisfied.
"There's one ship that won't put out to sea again. Form up and follow me. We'll take care of those longboats before we head back to Marshink."
The wily fox did not want to attract attention from the battle area by burning the longboats.
"Put up those bows and use your swords and knives to hold these boats. That'll leave Clog trapped on the shore."
Unaware that the longboats were being destroyed, Martin and his companions were heading for them, figuring to take one and sail further up the coast, where they would leave the boat and travel to Noonvale for help. Feldo looked to the fiery glow beyond the headland. "We better hurry. Those sea rats will be coming for the longboats to see if they can save their ship." Martin glanced back towards the fortress as he remarked to his friend, "Good guess, Feldo. There's a whole bunch of them coming this way." The dark shapes of yelling corsairs could be seen leaving the fray and making for the longboats. Martin grasped Brome's paw. "Let's put a move on, otherwise they'll catch up with us." Grum had been looking ahead towards the boats.
Look it! There be other vermin by they boats, and they see us'ns!
He groaned in dismay. Feldo gritted his teeth. Foe beasts behind and before us, Martin. Either way is trouble. Martin sized the situation up quickly. We can't turn back now. There's less of them in front of us. Keep going. We'll have to chance rushing them. Rose, take Grum and Brome, pick out a boat, and get going. Feldo and I will hold them off. Please don't argue. Just do as I say. Right, Feldo? The big squirrel nodded. Right. I recognize that half-eared rogue at the boats. It's Scowrag. There's about 10 with him. Let's get at it, Martin. The young mouse and the squirrel dashed towards Scowrag's group, yelling at the top of their voices. Freedom! Charge! Scowrag was not sure whether the swiftly advancing pair were armed, though he knew by their warlike cries that they intended doing battle. The fox hesitated a moment, unsure whether to meet them sword and paw or go for his bow. He lost the initiative, barely having time to shout a warning to his archers before Martin and Feldo were on him. The squirrel grabbed Scowrag's sword paw, struggling to get hold of the blade, as Martin dealt the nearest rat a flying kick with both footpaws.
Help me! Help!
Scowrag was screaming. Now some of Clog's creatures spotted the activity by the longboats. They unsheathed their weapons and dashed forward to protect their boats. 2 rats went down under the hefty digging claws of Grum, and a hearty wallop from a chunk of driftwood held by Rose. Brome began shoving the smallest of the boats out into the surf, and Grum and Rose lent their weight to his efforts. Martin was holding on to one rat who was trying to stop the boat, while he held the head of another under the water. Feldo had a stranglehold on Scowrag, whose sword belt had snapped. Both sword and belt were lost somewhere in the shallows. The corsairs came charging in, yelling, surf splashing beneath their paws. Rose leaned over the stern of the small boat, pulling Brome in while Grum found the oars. She began shouting,
Martin! Feldo! Over here, quickly!
Thinking swiftly, Martin stunned a sea rat with a heavy blow. Grabbing a half-throttled Scowrag from Feldo, he thrust the fox at the corsairs.
Here, mates! One of Badring's lot trying to steal our boats!
With a concerted howl of rage, the corsairs threw themselves upon Scowrag and another rat Feldo pushed towards them. Martin nudged his friend, whispering urgently, Quick, into the boat. Half wading, half swimming through the night-dark waters, they made for the boat. Grum and Brome held oars over the stern to them.
Hasten, sirs!
As they grabbed the oars and began climbing aboard, the corsairs suddenly realized what was going on.
Those ain't sea rats! Stop 'em!
The ferret called Boggs yelled hoarsely. Martin scrambled into the boat, but Feldo was having a hard time with his huge bushy tail weighed down by seawater. The rat called Grouch floundered forward and seized the squirrel's footpaws. From the boat, Martin managed to grab Feldo by his other 2 paws. Then another sea rat latched onto Feldo's tail, and a tug of war began. Feldo was stretched between water and boat, helpless, his mouth filled with salt water. Rose leaned over the stern, wielding an oar. Thunk! Buff! She stunned the rats with 2 direct hits. Martin heaved mightily, and Feldo came tumbling into the boat. While some of the corsairs held Scowrag and his platoon prisoner, the rest jumped into the boats and began rowing after the escapers.
Row!
Martin cried out to his friends.
Paddle with your paws! Anything! Hurry! They're coming after us!
Grum sat in the stern, not moving. Rose looked at him curiously.
Come on, Grum. Paddle! Don't just sit there.
The mole shrugged unhappily.
I can't move, Mizzy. Even I do, I'll so sink. I'll be sitting right on a great hole in the boat.
The mole sat, completely soaked, blocking the hole as best he could, with water swilling around the bottom of the boat. Brome started to laugh. Feldo eyed him disapprovingly. I can't see much to laugh about, young'un. It's not a very funny situation we're in. Brome held his sides as he tried to paddle and stop laughing at the same time. I'm sorry, Felder. Can't help it. Oh, dearie me. Look at those creatures. The two boats loaded with corsairs that were following were only going one way. Down. Rose joined in with Brome's laughter. Of course! That's what Badring's creatures were doing, holding the boats after they'd set fire to the big ship. Lucky old us, we picked the one with the smallest hole in it. The corsairs' faces were a picture of abject misery as they bailed furiously, while the boats filled up and sank beneath them. They floated about, treading water and watching the small craft, low in the water, but going strong, head straight out to sea. A joyous shout rang out across the choppy night waves as the little boat pulled away.